Developed and published by Taito and created by Fukio MTJ Mitsuji, the 1986 arcade classic Bobble features the adventures of friends-turned-dragons Bub and Bob, popping and platforming their way through hundreds of unique levels, each with its own set of enemies and items. Using assets from the 1983 title Chack and Pop, it improved the model by implementing more intuitive controls, a more pleasant choice of weapon, and far more content. The NES version we played features some unique adjustments from the traditional arcade version, including more generous physics on bubble hopping, borrowing lives instead of quarters, passwords, some item swaps or omissions, and extra lives at a real curious 30,000, 100,000, 200,000, 400,000, and 1 million point scale. Additionally, it gates the true ending behind both the level 99 secret door and completion of Super Bobble, which unlocks the sound test and reveals that Super Drunk was actually your parents all along. Extend bubbles and fruit spawns are also changed, with the number of extend bubbles scaled back and the value of fruit scaled up. Most notably, though, it shuffles around some of the levels, including the addition of new levels highlighting some enemies, some other games, some of the developers, including the aforementioned MTJ, and the notorious level 57, a vicious level that required players to pile up bubbles in the center to hop on while also managing to avoid invader shots. Thankfully, we were spared the frustration by a serendipitous potion spawn, but not everyone is so lucky. The idea for multiple endings based on multiple players was MTJ's. In a video released as a promotion for Taito Legends, he discussed how there was already cooperative gaming on the market, but putting the true ending behind co-op play, combined with the choice of aesthetically cute characters, was motivated by a desire to help get more women and couples to play games together at arcades in Japan. MTJ did go on to make a few more games in the 80s and the early 90s, including Bobble's sequel, Rainbow Islands, before instead deciding to teach game design. Philosophically, he understood his time on Earth was short and wanted to make the most of it. In the same Taito Legends video, he says, quote, "There are limited things you can do by yourself in a lifetime, so I'd like to be a person who plants trees, rather than being a tree." Surely enough, he did pass away at the age of 48, but left behind not only one of the most memorable cooperative games of its time, but lessons on designing games that endure to this day. Thoughts?
God,
just
damn it.
9 episodes of a 40-second musical loop that...
And each one was like something like, what, 10 minutes, roughly on average. It was like an hour and a half.
Yep, I think we were pushing 100 minutes on that, beginning to end for that. But yeah, just that loop.
Well, they saved money on the outsourcing for music. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, but it's endearing. I mean, that song because I played this. This is another one of those NES titles I just played the ever living snot of as a kid. I think this was the first game maybe that I was personally in charge of like picking the game, and kudos to whoever did the cover art for it, because I saw bubbles and dinosaurs, and true to Fukio's thoughts here, I was like, oh, this looks really cute and fun, and yeah, I want the copy of this game.
When you say that, you mean like someone said, I'm going to buy you a game, you pick it out, or
Dad takes me in the store. He's like, you can pick out one NES game, and I'm like, okay, amazing. And I'm looking around, and it's colorful dinosaurs and bubbles. I was a young kid, I couldn't say no to that. So
yeah, like I said, kudos to the art team. They clearly know how to appeal to their target demographic, really.
And it's weird because they were like a hit, but the only other thing like Bub and Bob ever really got used for was Puzzle Bobble, aka Bust-A-Move, which was a huge arcade hit and had 100 iterations, and that bubble puzzle kind of style is kind of taken off. And there's other games that have used that same mechanic since, but Taito, that was their mascot, their flagship, when everybody in the 90s needed to have some sort of like animal mascot. Everyone had their Sonic equivalent. Bub and Bob were it for Taito.
They clearly don't have the sort of lasting appeal that others like Sonic and such have today. But I mean, they're certainly well known among the circles.
Sonic is very, very much trying that. That's kind of the ultimate example of how far can a mascot go.
I think Sonic is the ultimate example of not knowing when to quit.
It's rough.
I mean, don't get me wrong.
It is the 25th anniversary. If you saw, they just posted the like the 25th silver anniversary, and they've got like a new logo and everything. And it's the original like old style kind of shorter, fatter Sonic model, and
without that stupid nose.
Nope, the nose things are gone. Like no scarf, no gloves, no, you know.
He always had the shoes, but
yes.
And anyways, back to the topic at hand here. So it's kind of neat. You were saying how they wanted to make a game to encourage, you know, not just your average, because I mean, it was very much a male thing.
Oh yeah,
back in the day.
Yeah, the arcades that was a major issue, was trying to kind of integrate the arcades and get a more diverse kind of set of people playing the games. Because
it's like with anything, if you get more people to know and understand your thing, they're going to tell more people, and it's not even purely for financial things. Like sometimes creators just want their product of their creation to get out there and get seen. So it's probably the best way to do it, is just to appeal to as many people as you can.
Yeah. So and then so we were talking about the music. So the guy who does the music for this. Also, he goes by Kim or Kimmy in the credits. It's Tadashi Kimijima. Also did Arkanoid, which was real short. And that was just kind of it.
Would be great if he also went and did Super Bomberman. This king of 30-second loops.
Well, no, Bomberman was Hudson Soft, yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, so I'd be surprised. I haven't gone through this guy's discography, but yeah, no. The music and the sound, and I think maybe the sound more than the music, but in both cases, like really, really memorable, and it's like obviously the music in like an earworm sort of way,
of course,
but like. Real kind of vibrant sounds, and not horns, but kind of like pings and pangs and like square waves and everything.
Well, sure. I mean, every sound meant something, and it meant like more than just a signal. It was like it would actually elicit a response from you. Like, and whenever you hear dun, 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 you're like, oh shit,
the Baron.
Oh no.
And that's I wish I had a chart in front of me right now, and I can always go back and drag one and like add it to the video here. But
now that I've played the game, that sound is on par with we talk about Sonic, the you're about to drown theme. No.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean Baron von Blubba is like great example of a time mechanic where it just it fits the aesthetic really well. Like you're playing a game and it's cutesy and whatever, so you don't have something super super dramatic. You just have this like ghost version of the beluga whale, chases you.
Evil beluga.
Which supposedly there was actually a way to eliminate it. I know I said he was like completely invincible. There's sort of a hacky-ish way to deal with this. Remember we had 2 Barons spawn at one point? Well, if you die to your Baron, and while you have invincibility frames, go run into the other Baron, it should dispel him.
Oh, so if you're good with your movement, you can take one death to clear both.
Both, yeah. Which That's is, neat. I guess, as good as you can hope for.
I mean, yeah, if you just need the extra 20
Although,
seconds,
really, if you're that good, why not just clear the level?
Because maybe you're just not good at bubble jumping.
Or maybe it's level 57 and you didn't get a potion. I mean,
I don't even want to know how long we would have spent on that level if we didn't
hours.
Get
I
that
promise
potion.
You, because I know I had spent as a kid, especially trying to do this one player instead of 2.
Well, you say that like hours, but you were expecting to spend like 3 hours on level 99.
Oh yeah, that is true. Although level 99,
it only took us like 6 or 7 attempts, though. It wasn't that bad.
I think level 99, my expectations being so long was my own faith in doing like the wall jumps and kind of sliding through and stuff and killing the enemy. But that actually went through a lot more smoothly than I expected. Now, we didn't get the true ending because
we had to go through the game again,
right? Because we did beat Super Drunk, and there were both of us there, so we saw most of the true ending. You saw it said happy end. We had. Both the bubbles came down, kind of both, couples reunited. Super Drunk flies off the screen. And if we had gone through again and played this on Super Bubble Bobble, instead Super Drunk kind of like floats down to the floor and turns into 2 people, turns into like 2 characters, and they're both wearing t-shirts, and one has like a shirt that says mom and the other has a shirt that says dad. So,
Well, if you're not going to put like text or narrative in your game, I guess you got to use whatever visual cues you can. And
right,
and couldn't be written more clearly.
Yeah, that's why they gave us the password at the end. I had thought the password they gave us at the end of Bubble Bobble was going to be our sound test password, but it's the password to get into Super Bubble Bobble. If we then go through all of Super Bubble Bobble and beat all of that, then it drops us into the sound test when you beat Super Drunk in Super Bubble Bobble.
Well, now that we know, I mean, we could always just go back with that password. I mean, it's not like it's not documented somewhere, and just go through it off screen. And then once we get towards the
and reshoot
the fight again, we can just do a little bonus episode of just fighting Super Drunk 2. Superest.
And I don't think, and I have to go back and check this, I don't believe the levels change substantively. I think like the palettes might change. What really changes is the enemies. They switch. Like if you have the little moblins in one stage, you'll get the little
the invaders or something.
Yeah, actually, I think the invader is the only enemy that does not appear in Super Bubble Bobble for some odd reason. Which is weird because he's actually kind of deadly. You think?
Well, certain levels are sort of centered around the invader,
right? And I think they swap the invader for maybe the wizard just with a high rate of fire on his like rocks, or the drunk with a high rate of fire on the bottles. I'm not positive, but yeah.
Right on.
So, and again, this is like we joked about this at the beginning of Marble Madness. This is another one of those games that just had so many incarnations.
Yeah.
I think it had somewhere in the range of like 16 different consoles that had been ported to when it was all said and done, and they all had slight variations. Because with this many levels and this many items and this much content in the game, obviously color palettes change from system to system. You have to swap some stuff in and out. Some mechanics are wonky or hard to code for certain.
I remember watching this is like 5 or 6 years ago whenever it was released for the Xbox. I remember watching you play it. And you were doing it with somebody. I don't remember who.
Matt, maybe?
I don't know, but like it was that level where you're both in like a narrow column, and you have to bubble your way out of it. You eventually could, but it's not.
Oh, it's
easy.
Brutal. Yeah, the NES version of this game.
It's like pixel perfect. Your turns, you can actually get up.
Remember when you found you can hold A to bubble hop?
Yeah,
and like that's a game changer, right? That's an NES thing. The other versions of the game were timing button presses to hop bubbles. And so the Xbox version, not only is it more difficult to bubble hop, but remember, you're using wireless controllers. In a lot of these old retro games, it's a matter of getting that timing dead on. And if you can't do that, then you're going to have a bad time. And sure enough, we got stuck a couple times trying to do this on the Xbox port, where it was just miserable trying to bubble hop, whereas in this game it's a breeze.
Yeah. I mean, it was after like level 25 or so when I finally got the hang of it. Then it became a breeze for me. But
Yeah, and it's great because it's a mechanic. You get the hang of it. It's fun. You figure out ways to use it and then ways to abuse it, and you start realizing you go like from the bottom of the level to the top of the level, kind of up again, and they do that. As you progress through the levels, the patterns, the levels change to encourage you to use those techniques. I mean, level 57's awfulness aside, like the level with the question mark.
Yeah.
And once you can bubble hop, you can get up on top of that question mark and grab the items that are spawning up there, or the levels in which, there was kind of a suspended row of enemies at the top of the screen, dropping stuff down or just kind of hanging out up there. The levels that had a lot of zigzags also had water bubbles. The levels that had like open ranges where the enemies were kind of hopping up and down also had fire bubbles. The trapped enemies would always have like currents running up the sides with electrical bubbles.
Mm-hmm.
They really... And they had 100+ levels to do it, so obviously they had more than enough time to explore this. But they found ways to use all these different mechanics. And so if you're going to make all those things, you then do your level design in such a way that you can take advantage of those abilities.
Well, that was one of my favorite things about the game as we were playing through it. Is like you don't really get all that frustrated, but like one of my favorite things about it is like it's not a hard game it's not a complex game. The mechanics of it are simple. The controls are fairly simple. It might take a bit of getting used to, but it's not so much that they're simple, but you can do a lot with them.
Right.
Like, there's just a lot of options for how to actually play through the game. There's a lot of different actions you can take. Like, and you sort of have to learn them as you play through to get the secret door. In 99.
There's no way you're getting the secret door in 99 if you haven't mastered
you have to learn
bubble
how to bubble
hopping
jump. You have to like
wall things.
phasing through parts of the wall.
And there's a term for it. I always called it melee or biting or whatever, but that ability where if you're directly adjacent to an enemy and you blow a bubble, you simultaneously trap the enemy and pop him.
Yeah.
It's like kind of almost running into him and doing it all at once. You know, that's crucial too for 99 because you got to clear that trapped guy who's bouncing around in there, who's really trapped in a 2x2 space.
Yeah. But, I mean, good job on the programmers for just making a solid game. I mean, and like with this, with Ninja Gaiden as well, I was really amazed. Like, you look at older games and you look at like the level of programming that we had to work with back in those days, and it's amazing how some of these games that we're playing aren't that buggy. There's not that many issues with them. I mean, they're there, sure,
right,
but they're not like, I mean, these games are far less buggy than some of the ones that are released today with like teams of dozens of programmers.
And part of it is the complexity, obviously, because we build just by the nature of the industry, we build on previous things, on previous things, on previous things.
Sure.
You know, so when you have a working 3D model, great, you have a working 3D model. Now, can we get it to do this? Can we get it to do that? Can we do it to the other? And so you build kind of complexities on complexities, and eventually you start to reveal kind of some of the underlying problems. Or in the case of some like the real large games, if you're doing a massive game with 1,000 people, the ability for something to slip through the cracks is there in a way that like a team of 5 people, you know, where everything is under such immediate scrutiny of the people kind of who are driving this. You know, it's a lot harder for that stuff to slip through.
It's a lot easier for one person to lean over and say, "Oh, hey, that thing you're doing it there, that's not going to work."
Right. And then again, part of it is the technology you're working with. So with these older consoles, you know, we have the luxury now as game developers, if you're using Unity or Havoc or you know, any of these other engines, to just run the demo instantly on the machine you're engaged in, and there's no question that you're getting like the experience in question, and you just do it. Whereas for
you just like complete a build and then like run through it.
Oh yeah, so you're pushing all this stuff to the hardware and the memory management and everything else that comes with, you know, making games for these older systems. There's a certain amount of perfection that you kind of have to strive for. And Nintendo, again, this goes back to their philosophy. They were so obsessed with, like, you can only make 4 games a year, 5 games a year. You know, Nintendo seal of quality. We don't want anyone thinking our system has bloatware on it, because the Atari 2600 had so poisoned the well for expectations for the US game market.
Yeah.
Nintendo was obsessed with quality per game, and it showed, right? So with limited exception, a lot of these upper end titles from these major developers, you knew you were getting something at least good, if not great.
Right.
Which has done wonders. I mean, we could go through NES games for, you know, ad nauseum and still have plenty of just terrific ones to choose from.
Yeah. Well, I guess, you know, a big thanks goes out to MTJ.
Yes.
Gone far too soon.
Yes, definitely. This is one of those games that I go back to occasionally and replay just kind of for the sheer, and it's not just the rose-colored glasses nostalgia. It's a great little platformer.
Yeah.
It's lighthearted, it's fun. The music, for as earwormy as it may be, is charming, and it handles really well. It's a real tight platformer, so you don't ever feel like you're really being cheated by anything like inertia or missing a platform. You know,
I think it also came in an era where games weren't trying to be more than what they were.
Yeah.
They were just what they were.
And it also lives in that really interesting space, because remember, this is an arcade port. So this lives in that really interesting space where the arcade games had evolved beyond your Defender, Joust, Donkey Kong, you know, single screen, but it was still single screen, right? I mean, you have 100 and something levels,
right?
But each one is still operating in like that single screen space. So it was kind of walking the line between eras, right? It was kind of right at the cusp of generations, and it gets a little bit of like the best of the arcade. Like, it really takes that exploring single space platforming kind of to its upper limit, and at the same time, hey cat, at the same time it brings in a little bit of the new, right? So you're going from screen to screen to screen, just tons of screens, tons of items, tons of variations of the gameplay. whereas a lot of your original arcade games had very predictable gameplay after like 1 or 2 playthroughs. Like, there's only so many levels you loop back to the first, or you're really only doing this for the high scores. So you get some of that new generation where there's a story involved and you're playing towards an actual ending, and you're kind of engaged in that. And I think that's part of what makes the console port so good, is it really is a console style game that happened to be a good arcade game.
Right. Well, it certainly wasn't House of the Dead.
It was not House of the Dead. All right, so
that about covers everything I had to say on the game. So.
Likewise. So thank you guys so much for watching the videos on that. Hope you enjoyed them all.
Yeah, appreciate it. And please, if you have any comments or anything that you want to say, as always, or if there's anything that you want to see us talk about, or anything you want to see us play, there is a comment section right, like 3 inches on your screen down beneath the play button. Just give us a shout.
Yep, drop a line. We're happy to answer any questions you have about this or any other game.
All right. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.
Take care.